You are being lied to every single morning, not with fine print, not with complicated legal language buried in a terms of service document. You are being lied to with a plastic stick you pull out of your bathroom drawer without thinking. And the lie is costing you hundreds of dollars a year, every year, for your entire adult life. What I'm about to show you is not a wellness trend. It is not a hack someone invented last year. What I am about to show you is a mineral that has been sitting inside the earth for hundreds of millions of years, that human beings have been pulling out of the ground and pressing against their skin for over 3,000 years. That costs about $1, and that eliminates body odor completely. Not for 6 hours. Not until you start sweating. Completely. And if you have never heard of it, that is not an accident. That is a business decision someone made in 1912. Stay with me through this entire video because there is one critical detail about how this mineral works that almost nobody gets right the first time. If you miss that detail, you will try this once, think it failed, and go back to spending money you did not need to spend. That detail is coming. And it is so simple, it is going to frustrate you. If this is your first time on this channel, hit that subscribe button right now. We find the things that work, that have always worked, that nobody is selling you, and we put them in front of you as clearly as we can. Hit subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. You will not regret it. Let us start with the money, because the money tells you everything you need to know about why you have never heard of this. The global deodorant and antiperspirant industry generates close to $25 billion every single year. In the United States alone, that number sits around $9 billion annually. Think about what that industry is actually selling you. A product that runs out in approximately 2 weeks. A product engineered to run out in 2 weeks. A product you have to replace roughly 25 times a year, every year, from the moment you hit puberty until the day you die. Now imagine someone hands you a mineral the size of a chicken egg that costs $1, lasts between 1 and 3 years with daily use, and does the same job better. You cannot build a $25 billion subscription model on something like that. You cannot. And that is not a theory. That is just math. So the question is not why this mineral works. The question is why you were never told about it. The answer to that question starts in 1912. A woman named Edna Murphy began placing full-page advertisements in major American magazines for a product called Odor. These were not advertisements that said, our product smells nice or our product keeps you comfortable. These advertisements said something different. They said that body odor was embarrassing, that it cost you friendships, that it cost you professional opportunities, that the people around you noticed and were too polite to say anything. Before those campaigns ran, the vast majority of Americans simply did not view body odor as an urgent problem requiring a purchase solution. After those campaigns, an entire industry existed. Historians who have studied this period describe those campaigns as among the first in history to deliberately manufacture shame around a natural human function and then sell the cure. The shame was not discovered. The shame was built. It was built because shame generates repeat customers. A mineral that lasts 2 years and costs $1 generates nothing. Shame is a business model. The mineral is just chemistry. That mineral is called alum. Its scientific name is potassium aluminum sulfate, but you will never need that name to do anything practical. What you need to know is that alum forms naturally inside the earth, has been there for hundreds of millions of years, and that human beings across multiple continents and multiple civilizations figured out independently that pressing it against skin changed what happened on the surface of that skin in useful ways. Ancient Egyptian physicians documented it on papyrus. We are talking about a time when the pyramids at Giza were still relatively new construction. They used it as an astringent, meaning it tightened and firmed soft tissue on contact. They noticed that skin treated with alum resisted infection. They noticed that it resisted odor, and they wrote it down carefully enough that those records survived thousands of years and are still being studied today. The Romans took this further than anyone before them. They built an entire trade network around alum. They mined it from sites spread across the empire. Roman soldiers applied it to skin wounds because of the way it slowed bleeding and reduced the conditions that led to infection. Roman barbers kept a small piece at their workstation and pressed it against the small nicks on customers' faces after a shave. The same property that sealed a shaving cut is the same property that stops odor. Roman physicians prescribed it. Roman merchants exported it across Europe and North Africa. This was not a folk remedy whispered between neighbors. This was organized commerce. This was formal medicine. Then comes the most significant name in this history. A physician and scholar named Ibn Sina, known in Europe as Avicenna, completed what became one of the most widely used medical encyclopedias in human history around the year 1025. His canon of medicine describes alum's effects on skin and language that, if you strip away the archaic vocabulary, sounds remarkably close to a modern cosmetic ingredient description. That book was used as the standard medical teaching text in European universities for the next 600 years. 600 years. Think about what that means. While European physicians were training the next generation of doctors, While they were learning everything they knew about how the human body works and how to treat it, alum was in the curriculum. This was not alternative medicine. This was the curriculum. In East Asia and Southeast Asia, the crystal form of alum was sold in local markets the same way soap or salt was sold. In Thailand, Malaysia, and the Philippines, it is still sold in local markets today. You can find it on the same shelf as soap and toothpaste, often for the equivalent of less than $1, often labeled simply as deodorant stone or crystal deodorant. Nothing about it has been reformulated. Nothing about it has been improved. The mineral on those market shelves today and the mineral on those market shelves 200 years ago are chemically identical, because there was nothing to improve. It was already doing exactly what it needed to do. Here's something that will stop you cold if you think about it. You have almost certainly already eaten alum without ever knowing its name. If you have ever eaten a store-bought pickle, the kind that makes a sharp, satisfying crunch when you bite into it, there is a trace amount of alum in that jar. It is used in commercial pickling to keep cucumbers firm by tightening the cell structure of the vegetable. The United States Food and Drug Administration lists alum as generally recognized as safe for food use. Let that settle for a moment. An ingredient considered safe enough to eat, used daily across Southeast Asia, documented in the most widely read medical texts in human history, with a recorded history stretching back to ancient Egypt, is completely unknown to most households in North America and Western Europe. Not because it stopped working, not because something safer came along, because something more profitable replaced it in the story being told to you. Now let us talk about why it actually works, because understanding the mechanism is what locks in the result. Most people assume sweat is the problem. Sweat is not the problem. Fresh sweat from a healthy person is almost entirely odorless. Here is what is actually happening on your skin. Your skin is covered in bacteria, billions of them, doing exactly what bacteria do. Most are harmless, but a specific group, mainly from a family called Corynebacterium, feeds on the proteins and fatty acids that come out in your sweat. These bacteria consume those compounds and convert them into different molecules. Those converted molecules are what you are actually smelling. The sharp particular odor that human beings recognize as body odor is a byproduct of bacterial digestion. It is the exhaust of a very small living process happening on the surface of your skin. Researchers published work as recently as 2020 identifying the specific enzyme inside these bacteria responsible for that conversion step. The sweat does not smell. The eating smells. What alum does, when it is correctly applied, is change the surface environment of your skin just enough that those bacteria cannot thrive or multiply at full activity in that area. Not enough to cause irritation, not enough to feel different. Just enough that the bacterial colony responsible for producing odor cannot do its job. No bacterial activity means no conversion of sweat proteins into odor compounds. No conversion means no smell. You will still sweat. If it is a hot day or you're doing physical work, you will still feel moisture. That is your body doing exactly what it was designed to do, regulating your temperature, cooling your skin. What alum stops is not the sweating. What alum stops is the process that turns that moisture into something you or anyone near you can detect. This is actually an important distinction because commercial antiperspirants do something fundamentally different. They work by physically blocking the opening of your sweat glands using synthetic aluminum compounds, essentially plugging the opening the same way a cork plugs a bottle. That compound builds up in your skin with daily use over months and years. Blocking the sweat gland entirely is not something your body was designed for. Alum does not do that. It addresses the odor without interfering with the sweating process itself. 3,000 years of recorded use, and that is how it has always worked. Now, here's the part I need you to pay close attention to, because this is where most people fail and then wrongly conclude that the mineral does not work. The mistake is not complicated. The mistake lives in a single step. The very first step. And once you hear it, you will probably feel slightly annoyed at how simple it is. People apply the crystal dry. That is the complete mistake. That is the entire reason people try this once, feel nothing, and go back to the plastic stick. When you press a dry alum crystal against your skin, almost nothing transfers. You're pressing a smooth, hard mineral against a surface and expecting it to leave something behind. It does not. The crystal must be wet to work. That single requirement is the entire difference between the people who use this successfully and the people who do not. Here is what actually happens when it is wet. Picture pressing a damp finger into a small pile of table salt and then touching that finger to a dry piece of paper. The salt leaves an almost invisible layer exactly where your finger touched. You can barely see it. You almost certainly cannot feel it, but it is there. That invisible transfer is precisely what a wet alum crystal leaves on your skin. A thin, continuous film of dissolved mineral across the surface. No color. Nothing that shows on clothing. No detectable texture. Just a presence that your bacteria encounter before they can begin their work. That film is what stops the odor. Here is exactly how to apply it correctly. You wash in the shower the way you always do. Before you fully dry off, while your skin is still damp but not dripping, you pick up the crystal and hold it under the shower water for 2 or 3 seconds. Not until it is running wet. Just until the surface has a smooth, slick feel. Then you press it gently against your underarm and move it in slow, even strokes. Think of the pace and pressure of spreading cold butter across very soft bread, the natural weight of your hand resting on the crystal. Nothing more. About 10 to 15 strokes covering the whole area. Even coverage matters more than pressure. Do the other side the same way. Now stop. Do not towel off the area you just treated. Do not fan it. Do not rush to put a shirt on. Let it air dry naturally for about 60 seconds. This drying step is not optional. This is the step where the mineral film actually bonds to the surface of your skin. If you cover the area or wipe it before those 60 seconds are up, you remove most of what you just applied. The 60 seconds is the mechanism. Do not skip it. For the first 3 to 7 days, some people notice that the protection feels slightly less complete than the commercial antiperspirant they were using before. This is completely normal, and it is not a failure. Those synthetic aluminum compounds from commercial antiperspirants build up in your skin with daily use over months and years. It takes several days for them to fully clear out after you stop applying them. During that transition, your skin is adjusting. You are not doing anything wrong. You are waiting for the old chemistry to leave so the new protection can work on clean tissue. After the transition period, the picture changes significantly for most people. The real test is not the first hour. The real test is the 12th hour. If there is no odor at the 12-hour mark, the application was correct. If odor appears within 3 or 4 hours, one of 3 things happened. The crystal was too dry when you applied it. You did not cover the area evenly, or you covered your skin before the mineral film had a chance to dry. The fix in every case is the same. Wetter crystal, more strokes, more patient 60 seconds. On very hot days or during intense physical activity, you may want to reapply once. Not because heat makes the mineral stop working, but because heavy sweating can wash the thin protective film away faster than the bacterial cycle can establish itself. The fix is a 10-second reapplication. Wet the crystal, 10 strokes, let it dry. That is it. Carrying the crystal in a bag is simple because it does not leak, does not stain clothing, does not need a cap, does not expire, and does not count as a liquid under travel regulations. A crystal the size of an egg takes up essentially no space and weighs almost nothing. Now look at what this means financially over the course of a life. One person switching from commercial deodorant to an alum crystal saves somewhere between $80 and $90 a year, depending on the brand they were using. Over 10 years, that approaches $900. Over a lifetime of daily use from adolescence onward, the savings are close to $5,000 returned to your pocket from a single small decision made in the personal care aisle of a grocery store. A family of 4 multiplies that by 4. That arithmetic is not dramatic. It is just true. And then consider this from a different angle entirely. Commercial deodorant expires. It runs out on a schedule. Aerosol cans are restricted on planes. Gel and soft stick products over a certain size cannot go in a carry-on bag. Supply chains disrupt. Stores run low. If you're traveling for weeks without easy access to a pharmacy, a product that runs out every 2 weeks becomes a real problem. A crystal the size of a chicken egg, stored somewhere cool and dry, kept away from standing water so it does not slowly dissolve between uses, simply exists indefinitely. No subscription, no expiration date, no asking permission from a supply chain. Ibn Sina wrote about this mineral in the year 1025. He described pressing it to skin to prevent the conditions his patients found troubling. He did not know the word bacteria. He did not know about enzymatic pathways or volatile organic compounds, or the molecular mechanics of why a thin dissolved mineral film changes what can survive on a skin surface. He simply watched what happened, observed the result, and wrote it down carefully enough that the most respected physicians in Europe were still teaching it 6 centuries after his death. The crystal sitting in a market stall in Thailand today is the same mineral he was writing about. It is the same mineral a Roman barber pressed to a customer's face 2,000 years ago. It is the same mineral an Egyptian physician documented on papyrus before the concept of a nation called Rome even existed. 3,000 years of recorded use, available at every health food store and most Asian or Middle Eastern grocery stores right now. About $1. It was not buried because it stopped working. It was buried because something more profitable needed the shelf space and needed you not to know. Wet it. Apply it. Let it dry. That is the whole thing. If this opened your eyes to something you were never supposed to know, share this video with one person. One person who is spending money every 2 weeks they do not have to spend. Drop a comment below and tell me if you have tried this before, or if this is the first time you are hearing about it. I read every single comment. And if you want more of this, if you want the things that actually work that nobody is selling you, subscribe to Hidden Life Hacks right now and hit the bell so you do not miss the next one. because what is coming next will make this look like a warm-up. You do not want to skip it.